Imagine it's 1875 at the old course, St. Andrews, which was not called the old course back then. What kind of clubs did the players have in those days? Do you think in their bag they had mostly irons or mostly woods? Trick question. They didn't have a bag. But did they have mostly irons or mostly woods? They actually had mostly woods. So with the feather ball, people didn't want to ruin that ball, so they would use woods, which were gentler to the ball. You have a lower approach to the ball. You're not hitting down on it, so you're less likely to damage the ball. And also, damaging the turf was kind of a impossible concept to them. They didn't have much turf maintenance as well, so it was kind of a poor etiquette to take a big chunk of turf like a divot in those days. Now, there were a lot of complaints once people started to use irons, starting in the 1860s and 1870s. But the irons gradually started to be used more and more. One of the first players to really use irons for full shots was Allen Robertson, who died in 1859. So throughout the 1850s, when the gutta percha ball was starting to, just became popular around 1850, but during that beginning part of the gutta era, people were experimenting with different iron clubs. But the woods, like a set like this, were the predominant way that you hit a full shot. So you'd have your play club, your longest club off the tee, and your different spoons, the long, short, middle, and baffing spoons for different length shots. But you wouldn't have many irons. You might have one or two irons up until about 1885. And around at that time, after 1885, the majority of the clubs would have been irons. But this is a club from 1875 made by Willie Wilson, St. Andrews. He was one of the blacksmiths. Also, Robert Wilson was another prominent early iron maker. So typically, if you look at, there's a picture, which I'll show you here in a second. There's a picture of young Tom Morris's locker. And that locker was opened in 1900, 25 years after he passed away in 1875. Apparently it had been nailed shut and nobody had opened it. And then you look at the clubs in there. So this is what they were playing. And it's a lot different game than, we'll hear, I'm playing gutty golf. Yes, but gutty golf after gutta percha, or using that gutta percha ball, with clubs after 1885 is, in my opinion, more similar to the game that was played after 1900, except the distances are shorter. But playing with woods predominantly is a much more difficult game, in my opinion, than playing with predominantly irons. When you have poor lies, you tend to struggle a little bit, so it's much more lie dependent. So this club I wanted to demonstrate. This would have been in the era when big divots were first being made. This is a lofter, so you could have used it for approach shots, half shots, three-quarter shots, and even full shots. The question that people ask me sometimes is it the club or was it the ball that made more of a difference in distance? And you'll see it's actually the ball that makes more of the difference than the club. This club, believe it or not, in terms of distance, does not vary that much from a modern 7-iron. They have the same specs, the same loft, 35 degrees of loft, same shaft length, and there's very little difference, maybe 5% max, 3% max, something like that, in terms of the difference in distance. So we'll show that, but listen to the sound also. That's a lot different as well. The other thing people don't realize is that the gutta percha ball here really didn't change distances all that much on golf courses. When this ball came out and replaced the feathery ball, people weren't complaining that this ball is going too far. The only thing that they were complaining about was the golf courses got too crowded. So St. Andrews, instead of a track going out and in on a single track, they widened it over a couple decades to a double track, so you have different holes going out and in, or double greens. And a lot of courses were facing a lot more traffic. But the distance of this ball was not significantly different than the feather ball, which was up to about 1850. The dramatic change in distance was when the Haskell ball came out, or the wound ball. That was around 1900, 1902. That ball really took over the game, and courses started to change their lengths as a result of that ball. And ever since that time, distances have been a problem. People have been complaining that distances need to be cut down. So this argument of the new ball and the rollback, that's been going on for 125 years. So let's take a look at this club and how it compares to the modern club. And this club is 35 degrees loft. Same length as my setter. But it's got a very loud ringing sound, more so than those really loud drivers. So 129 carry, 142. I do believe these yards are going to be pretty close. This is saying 142 total yards, 129 carry. So you heard that sound, you see the distance. Now let's hit a modern club with the same loft and the same length. And hopefully I can get one. Yeah, that was a better shot. The other was a kind of a hot double cross. Yeah, so 146, it's not dramatically different despite all that technology, but you can hear the sound difference. The sound, this thing feels more solid, more dampening. This one, again, I'll hit it again, very loud. Yet it still goes pretty much the same, but I'm sure the mishits are a lot worse without the perimeter weighting. I could also feel the shaft, if I speed it up too much, I could just feel the head kind of moving all over the place. Wow, yeah, that popped up in the air, I'm pretty sure. So, yeah, so about the same, 126 carry, 141 total. So that's the lofter of the 1870s, one of only one or two irons that somebody would carry in their bag.